Everybody, welcome back to Rogue 16. We are getting together to chat about what are we doing? The bust, the PCS,
PCS fine art Vader bust.
the crazy bust.
Fine art's important. It is important.
It is important, yes. And it's the bust that I'm sure everyone has seen going around that has like literally everything on it. Like it's got a lot. Yeah. It's got a lot going on. Very, very cool looking bust, but it's definitely something that you have to, it's going to be, you like it or you don't like it kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So, let's check this out.
I only say like the fine art part of it in the title is distinctive because I think it's just because they don't actually have the license for like life-size busts.
Sure.
I think that's still sideshow when it comes to Star Wars.
Right.
So I think this is like their way around that is creating like a diorama. So technically it's life size as far as like the actual helmet goes.
Oh, the helmet. Interesting.
Yep. Okay. The other items on the piece, they don't say what scale.
What scale they are.
Yeah. Some people have speculated if it's like, okay, some are quarter, some might be 1/6, but they won't say. I don't think they will intentionally say. Most dioramas are like that. But at least, like, the main helmet that's attached to all of this is life size.
Is life size, sure.
Yep.
The other pieces still look really good.
Yeah.
Like, these look great.
The light up, it's interesting. I really want to see the light up not lit up. And I don't think they have photos of that yet to know if it's like
talking about lightsabers in the fire here.
Yep. Or if the resin looks decent. I only just noticed, I think that's like the force lightning behind the lightsabers too, which is interesting. Like from Return of the Jedi.
Up. Yeah.
Yeah. Up the helmet. So, yeah, it depends on, I mean, those could be 1/6, like the
I mean, I don't think, I honestly don't care about the scale of the other things. It's more so, it's cool to know that the helmet's like, actual like 1-to-1, let's say, but everything else is just kind of whatever. It's just added pieces around it. I mean, 22 inches high, 17 inches wide, 19 inches deep. I mean, 19 inches deep, that's pretty deep.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to have a decent place to put this thing.
Right.
Because there's stuff all over it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a pedestal would work really well with this, I would imagine, where you can actually walk around the thing and see this thing from every angle,
That would be great.
That would be cool.
Other people have mentioned just putting it on a turnstile and being curious what the weight is like or if it's hollow for that reason. I was talking to Jeff Sage about it because he is contemplating it. I like it if it's the only thing you have on display in a certain area. Like if you, even if it's not necessarily on a pedestal, but if you have it where it's like just by itself, I think next to other statues, like in a row on like garage shelving, I think it's going to look too busy. I think this is supposed to be like a be all end all Vader tribute in statue form. And I can appreciate that.
I don't know how I feel about Vader coming out of Vader.
Yeah.
Like I can understand like some of these other pieces, like the Emperor and like, the Anakin fight, all that stuff, the the lava, even I mean, I guess even Vader bending down to Emperor, but like,
so that was
coming out of his own helmet is a little bit strange.
That I think was always in the render, but the one thing that they did, and the Chakaric brothers did this, if I'm pronouncing the name correct. The only thing they changed from the render that I could tell, obviously, was because Justin in the group was curious about it, is they initially had the Death Star on the back of the head, like coming off the helmet. So it was the actual sphere of the Death Star. They ended up incorporating the Death Star into the back of the dome, which I think was a super smart choice.
Yeah,
I question if they either could have left this Empire Strikes Back Vader with the outreached arm off completely, if it would look better, in my opinion, or I wonder how it would look face on directly. I don't think they show us a photo of that, because even the one with the dimensions, it's at a slight angle. So I don't know how obvious it is that he's even back there in the first place when you're looking at the Vader helmet straight on.
Right.
It's a shame. Like, I think it's probably what gives it a lot of that dimensions, the 19 inches actually, because of how far it goes off the back of the piece.
Yeah. I do like the Death Star thing. I like these, giant
Star Destroyers, yeah.
Star Destroyers coming around it, and it's pretty cool. Some of it, I mean, all of it for it's the Kuchek brothers. All of it looks good in the sense that the the look of it, the likeness, a lot of that stuff is pretty solid and really really great. I just think I made a comment when I think you posted this, CC, and I was like, I mentioned this to you, I think Jason as well, that if ADHD was human was a human form, came into human form, like or a physical form, this is what it would come as. Like it's just very 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 busy and very like there's just a lot here, a lot. And so I think you really have to want something like this to it's a hell of a lot to look at.
I think I appreciate it because, like I said, in my opinion, it's trying. Oh yeah, see, so that like head on, it looks pretty. Doesn't look as obvious,
right?
Far back that Empire Strikes Back Vader is in the back. Yeah, I think I appreciate it because I see it as they're trying to have like a be all end all Vader piece. Like I could see, and of course I say that as Vader's my favorite character, and I don't have a Vader statue yet.
Right.
I don't think I'm getting this. I really don't think so because I have one life-size Vader and I planned on having 0 in my collection. So I'm already losing that battle. But I think I like the idea of it and I like the execution of it, assuming, like I said, it'd be really nice to see if that that light up resin looks decent when it's not lit up, just for practicality purposes.
This is one though, CC, this is what, like, I don't like lighting things up. I don't like lighting collectibles up personally, like plugging them in and stuff. This is one that I would think you'd have to. It just feels like you have to light this thing up. Like it's made to be lit up. Like it's you'd want to figure out how to do that.
I think I'm trying to remember if it's going to be like a USB-C with a battery pack so that you don't have to have it plugged in constantly, because I think people obviously wanting it to be on turntable, like a Lazy Susan kind of stitch, we're asking about that. Right. I do like this. And I think I like this also because I feel like it's kind of like the 3D embodiment of a poster. When you think of like any Star Wars poster, like it's kind of like, okay, you got the main character in the middle, and you got side scenes around it, or like the
I didn't even notice that. I didn't even know they had the trench run on the other side of it. That's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that. Like you can see the Mustafar castle in the back. I knew it obviously had the lava and stuff, but yeah, I think this is super ambitious. I think, like I said, if you give it space, like kind of like, to quote the Tom Spina, like if you give this air around it,
well,
it would look really great in a collection as like a be all end all piece.
And again, it looks like a lot of the stuff to me looks good. Like it doesn't look like cheapy, like crap. Like they just, it's got detail in it. It looks nice. The Vader looks good. The helmet looks good. Yeah. I mean,
speaking of cheap,
a hell of a lot. Yeah, so what's the price?
Yeah, everyone was speculating as to the price because the Carnage bust that we saw in person, not this year but last year at San Diego Comic-Con, was $1,500. This one's $19.99 or $19.95, so it's basically $2,000. No word if they're gonna do the thing like they did with Mall, where they're gonna offer like free shipping in the US. No ES. They haven't announced a ES for the original Mall, the more dynamic one, yet alone the museum one, yet alone this. I think they're going to wait for some pre-orders to trickle in first before they start thinking about something like that. And I did want to mention, because some people are finding out the hard way with this one, as opposed, I think also probably with the Mall, but I hadn't noticed it as much, is they have the same kind of licensing restrictions as Regal Robot. So their license is only for the United States for this piece. So if you are international, Europe, what have you, you're going to have to use a forwarding service in order to order it, or a distributor. I don't know off the top of my head what other distributors are getting this, but I know Collector's Arc is got it and is, I think, offered a discount in the Hyperdrive Space Fort, if you're a member of that group.
Yep.
But yeah, I think so. If you want it, there's ways to get it if you're really that keen.
Is Spec selling this?
I would assume so. Yeah, I hadn't asked Todd or talked to him about it, but I don't know why he wouldn't off the top of my head.
Yeah. That's crazy, man.
It does look good.
It does. It looks good. Like, I mean, if it does, it's just, again, it just comes down to it being a lot to look at.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, man. It's just crazy. I don't know where Jason went, but I was going to ask him how he felt about this thing, but it's, I think I've talked to him a couple times about it. It's tough. Oh yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. How do you feel about this, Jay?
I think it's interesting. I think, for the diehard Vader fan, I mean, this delivers everything. It's a very, I gotta say, as nicely as it's done and well executed, it's an acquired taste. There's no denying that.
Right.
You can't take that away from the piece, but it's interesting. And I am wondering, after looking at this, I've looked at it quite a bit. I am wondering if this does well, will we see more? If not if it does well in sales, if it's received well by those who purchase it and put it in their collections, if it's received well, I should say, will we see more in this direction? Or will this be a complete one and done? And I don't know. This is a very unique, this is just very different on all levels.
I liked it. I like that PCS seems to be doing these pieces really well. As in, like, there's no part of this where I look at it and I'm like, this looks like completely looks like shit, right? It doesn't look like the person, or it doesn't look like this or that. Like it, it's a diorama bust. So but it looks pretty solid. I mean, you could argue that some of it looks, I don't know, in person, maybe some of it looks a little plasticky. I have no idea, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seems to hold up pretty well. Like all the pieces seem pretty good to me.
So I liked the Carnage bus that we saw last year.
Yeah.
But the one thing I commented on it, I forget who I was talking to, but there's a big, it's Carnage, like with his mouth open, and then like behind him is all the Spider-Man like villains or what. I'm not a Carnage.
Sure. Yeah.
But the one thing I commented on was because the mouth was open, you could see a huge seam line right in the middle.
Right. Yeah.
And fix that because they got a lot of feedback from people like seeing it in person, and it was a prototype, and Ant was like, oh yeah, that's temporary, or that's already been addressed, like we're gonna fix it. So I think that they're like receptive to feedback on some of these pieces. There's nothing I've heard of on this piece as far as like someone's like change this, do that, this isn't accurate. Or I will say, like, just anecdotally, I think there's some pieces they've had that I think have a little bit of QC issues that people have been concerned about. So I do know that there's like, I have friends of mine who've said like, hey, I'm waiting to get them all until people get more PCS pieces in hand that have been in the works for a while to see if they still have the QC issues. Some of the QC issues have been like the quality of the paint on some of their bases as far as like the consistency. And then I think that their last piece that people are getting in hand recently is a RoboCop that I think people had some issues keying the feet into the base, but I think it also came with two different base styles. So I think one of them just had like a few issues.
Right.
But I do think that Star Wars is kind of a different animal. I'm not saying they're going to give more of a shit because it's Star Wars, but I do think that because Disney's involved and also because it's such an expensive license, like this is not the piece to like take lightly or not listen to feedback or not listen to customers. So I don't think anyone should be super concerned with ordering anything like this, whether it's the mall or this.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, it's really it's a fascinating piece. It really is. Like, it'll be interesting to see if they continue making things like this, or I don't know. I mean, we've seen the diorama bus thing in even what is it, Prime One that does this, or is it Queen Studios or Infinity? So one of the people that like
I think Queen.
companies.
did like the one where it was like if you remember the Joaquin Phoenix Joker,
Yeah,
it
the
had
Joker one, right?
base kind of
Right.
thing. Yeah.
So we've seen some of that already, but we haven't really seen it as part of the whole piece, right? Like as much. So I don't know. I mean, it'll be fascinating to see how many people pick this up, if it's popular or not, and if they continue it. I really love to see PCS continuing to make Star Wars stuff. That's fantastic, and I hope that continues for a very long time. They do a great job, and I'd love to see them continue, pushing creatively pushing some stuff with Star Wars. Would be great. But for me, this is just, yeah. I mean, this is just like collecting on cocaine. Like
Yeah.
it's just a little, too much for me. So, but I love to see it. I love to see that they're doing stuff, and I hope we see some really interesting things from them in the future. So, yeah. How about you, CC? Were you tempted at all when you first saw it, or?
I saw the render and was like, I'm gonna need to see it realized.
Yeah, right.
It's one of those, like, a render is one thing, but seeing it actually produced, like seeing the shadows, seeing it like realistic, a prototype or what have you, I dig it. I like it. I think it just speaks to like the movie poster collector in me, that it's kind of like a 3D version of a poster, in my opinion.
Yep.
It's been growing on me as well, since they keep releasing more photos of it or what have you. So yeah, I like it a lot.
I think for me, it would help if the Vader wasn't coming out of the Vader. Like
on the side?
Vader, the Vader on the side is kind of a lot. It's a lot.
And I'm one of those, like, I wouldn't let one element like that bother me about the whole piece. I think everything else is super successful. That's the only thing that I think it just stretches out a little too far. That if maybe they angled it towards the back, but then of course you'll have people who are like, well, what's the point of putting something so far in the back that the only time you'd see it is on like a turntable?
I just don't think they need it. They already have freaking Vader's helmet. Like, what do they need that? What do they need Vader coming out, like putting his hand out for? You don't need it.
I think they wanted one more scene with him, because right now I think we got like technically 3, right?
Yeah.
Mustafar, the kneeling, him in the back, and then you got the trench run, which I don't for scene. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I that's that's just a whatever thing, but I do think, by the way, I do think lit up it looks pretty fantastic. Yeah, that's it's gonna be really cool
and
to see other people.
Price was decent. Everyone was concerned. With it being Star Wars, it was going to be, I think, 2,500 or higher. So it's still like a $2,000 piece, but it could have been worse.
Well, I also can't wait to see people eventually get this and see where they put these things. Like, where are they going to display them? What are they going to put next to it? Like, what are they going to do with this thing? It's going to be, that'll be cool. Yeah. Anyway, that's that. Obviously you can still pick this up at PCS. Is it, you said not a PC. You have to pick this up like randomly somewhere else. Is that
no. So if you're in the US, you can pick it up directly through PCS. Okay. Because their license is restricted to the US, if you're not in the US, you're gonna have to use like a distributor.
Another distributor. Okay, that's good to know. All right. Anyway, thanks, CC, for talking us through some of that. That's a cool piece.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's gonna be it. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.